Well, Sienna, thank you so much for being here with me on the Entrepreneurial Success Podcast. We've got a great topic lined up for everybody here, and I'm sure everybody's ears and eyes are like gearing. They're ready. They want to know more about this. Tell us a little bit who you are and what you do.
Yeah, well, thank you first and foremost for having me. I am so excited to be here. Of course, my name is Cienna, and I am a social media manager. So, I own a company called the Mommy Agency, and I've been a social media manager for the past 8 years of my life. So, I'm really excited to kind of share how you can leverage your Instagram or your social media platforms for your sales goals this year in 2023.
I know, and we're really excited about this because we know there have been quite a few changes on social media. So the
Definitely.
strategies, the plans, the ideas you're going to give us, everybody's going to roll like crazy for them. Before we go into all the good stuff, tell us a little bit about your story. How did you become an agency? What made you decide one day, like, hey, this is it. I'm just going to start the mommy agency?
Yeah. So what ended up happening, it kind of fell on my lap, if I'm going to be honest with you. I have a 15-month-old son, so he's one. And when I was pregnant with him, last year, I was diagnosed with a condition called hyperemesis gravidera. And during my pregnancy, I was unable to work, right? And I was working in corporate for so long. I had worked at different companies, but where I was working at the time that I got pregnant as a social media manager, I could not work. I was let go from my job because this is kind of graphic and gross, but if you don't know what hyperemesis gravidarum is, it is a condition that causes you to vomit a lot. And so I was sick 120 times a day for 9 months straight.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I weighed 70 pounds while I was pregnant. I was so tiny. Um, and then on top of that, I was hospitalized 11 times, and then my body eventually went into organ failure. And so, in order to survive and to be able to give birth to my son, I had to have an emergency C-section at the end. And like my entire world, as I knew it, my career, everything that I had known really just came crashing down in that moment. Um, and this is so personal, but I'm an open book and I'm happy to share. But one of the biggest things was because I was unable to work, and luckily my husband he serves in the United States Navy, but they allowed him to stay home with me my entire pregnancy because I needed a caregiver. But given that circumstance, right, we went from a two-income household to a one-income household very quickly, and we had no way to pay our mortgage or figure out how to pay any of our bills. And it was very hard and very stressful. And so, 1 month after my son was born, I was like, okay, I am ready to go back to work. So I started looking for jobs, and I recognized very quickly that the cost of childcare in the United States is equivalent to how much I was getting paid. And so the money would cancel itself out, and then I would end up right back in the same situation that I was. So, in order to stay home with my son, I created the mommy agency. It was the only thing that I could think of that made logical sense. So, this way I don't have to pay for childcare, but I can still serve people as a social media manager. Um, and here we are, 14 months, he's 15 months. So, I started it 1 month after he was born. So, 14 months later, here we are.
Oh my gosh. And I'm so sorry to hear about your story. Honestly, I've never heard about that condition before, but I can just
Mhm.
imagine, not just the physical, but the emotional toll it had on you as well. And to
Yes,
still come out strong on the other side and go, hey, I'll just create my own business. Hats off to you. Honestly, that is really, really motivational and inspirational in more ways than one. So yeah, and you look amazing, by the way. You look fantastic.
Thank
And
you
your
so
and I'm
much.
sure your son is as beautiful as you are. But yeah, well done. That's really, really fascinating to hear.
Thank you. Honestly, I have never heard of the condition myself, until I was in the middle of it and I was asking doctors, what am I going through? What is this? And, a lot of women experience morning sickness, but it was much more than morning
Yeah.
sickness. I was so sick, and I had to stay in bed all the time. And so learning that women can actually have difficult pregnancies, that in and of itself was a journey for me to go through. But I really appreciate your kind words. And my son is healthy, I'm healthy, and that's all that matters now.
Amazing.
Yes.
Amazing. And look at you now. You've got your own business.
I know.
And this is exciting because we're going to talk about this. And I think, this is where the audience really resonate with your story, but also they want to look at your expertise. And this is why I'm so glad that we're having this conversation. So we are going to talk about Instagram. Oh my gosh. And obviously, as we all know, Reels are taking over on Instagram. And for those of you that are just hearing this for the first time, it is happening, okay? Reels and carousels are taking over. But what I would love to hear from you is how to use Reels that will convert, basically. What is it that you do, and what is it that you can share with the audience as to what they need to do or how to use Reels to make those conversions happen?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, the very first thing that I tell everyone, if you're doing this on your own, is to really do your research into what your ideal customer will want to know, right? So, you want to, before you even begin your reels, you want to come up with ideas, topics that you want to educate your audience about. Um, Education-based reels are very important because you want people to not only know what it is that you do, but they need to know how it can benefit them in some way, shape, or form. And as you are going about creating reels, remember that, I guess one of the biggest things you should know is that every single piece of your life can be turned into content. So a lot of times business owners say, Cienna, I don't have time to record reels, right? And that's hard if you feel like you don't have time. So my recommendation to that is take out your camera and record yourself working. Turn that into content. That is what we call B-roll footage, right? Where it's just in the background. You're not actually sitting there talking to the camera or engaging with the camera. You're just doing what you normally do, and your camera happens to be on and is watching you do that. And then you can share that bit and piece with your audience to help you create content a little more easier. Another thing that's really important if you really want to make sure that your reels are converting is you're going to want to make sure that within the first 3 seconds of your reel that you are captivating your audience. Something is changing. You are having a transition, or maybe new words are coming into your screen, something different. If you cannot captivate someone within the first 3 seconds of your reel, then you have lost them and they're gone. Now they're on to the next reel. Those are my biggest pieces of advice, but I can definitely dive into more strategically on how to use reels to kind of grow your business.
Yeah. And I think, what you just shared is really interesting. Because I've come across this as well personally, not just hearing it from my clients, where they go like, I don't know, I don't have time to put reels together. And I'm just like, when you go out, just take 3-second little videos here and there.
Yeah.
I love the idea that you gave about when you're sitting and working. I sometimes do that. I just prop up my phone and I do a time lapse. I do a time lapse setting, and then it looks like you're doing everything fast. Amazing if that could happen in real life. But that's also a very good reel. So there's, if you really tune into it, I guess, and you're really conscious the fact that you want to get out there and get some content together, wherever you're moving, whatever you're doing, hey, taking the dog for a walk, quickly going for a run around the block, take your phone, take little 3-second videos along the way. You'll be so surprised what the collage basically that you can put together at the end of the day.
Exactly. And it's so funny because I just onboarded a new client into our agency, and she is a sleep consultant. And when she started with us, the very first question she said was, Cienna, I don't want to be in front of the camera. I don't want to do those dancing reels. I don't want to stand there and point at the air. And I'm like, well, you don't have to, right? Like, you really don't have to as a business owner. And honestly, for me, this came from, I can't remember his name, but I don't remember if anyone knows what I'm talking about. But a couple of months ago, maybe a year ago, there was an audio on Instagram and TikTok that was trending, and it said, everything is content, everything is content. Don't
I
forget to
remember
film it.
that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so when I got that stuck in my head, I started to realize, wait a second, everything literally is content. And so what I told her to do is she went to Disney World this past week. And again, she's a sleep consultant. So she helps parents navigate how to transition their kids to falling asleep on their own. And I said, you're going to Disney. So many parents are struggling with how to get their kids, let alone to sleep in their house, but to sleep at Disney World, of all places. Film yourself putting your child down to sleep at Disney, or film, 2 second or 3 second clips of walking around Disney, playing with your kids, those types of things. And we can really utilize that and turn that into the content that you need.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what it is that you're doing, as long as you're showing the work that you're involved in, you can transition that any way, shape, or form with the right wording and the right audio to go along with those 2 to 3 second clips.
Exactly. And it's so funny that you're saying that, because that's exactly the conversation I had with my Instagram marketer. And I said to her, I don't want to dance. I don't want to point. That is not me. I'm not doing reels like that.
Yeah.
And she's like, you don't have to. And again, same process, same conversation. When she shared with me what it is that I can actually do, I'm in love with reels. Yes, I don't have a reel every single day, but I love doing reels, and they do
Right.
work. They do work.
Yeah, they do really work.
So let's talk about using Instagram as a strategy for your business, but more importantly, having it aligned with your KPIs and your goals. What is your
Yeah.
suggestion? What can you share with us there?
So, as a social media manager, I think one of the most important things that you can do is understand what your goals are, right? So, you need to understand where you want to go with the content that you're putting out. So, for example, if you are a business coach, right, then you may want to make content that speaks to not necessarily your services, but the results that your clients are going to receive when they hire you and put you into their business. And so, if that is something that you are thinking about, right? Okay, so I'm going to share these results, but what is the outcome of that? Well, the outcome is that you hope that your followers become your clients and that they hire you to receive those results. So, knowing exactly what the outcome is that you want, right? So, your desired goal is going to help you to align with your KPI. So, if my desired goal is to get, maybe let's say my desired goal is to get 10 new clients a month through Instagram management, then I'm going to want to come up with a KPI that helps me reach those 10 new clients. So, what is it that I have to put out there to reach those 10 new clients? Well, I have to put out educational based content. I have to put out relatable content to draw in my ideal audience. I need to put out informational based content. So it's slightly similar to educational, but information is just information that you may already know,
Yes.
like what my services are, things of that nature. And so making sure that I know how much of what types of content to put out there. Or it may be, okay, I need to sell in my Instagram stories every single day, checking off that box of that KPI. Okay, every single day for the month of February, I sold in my Instagram stories, and this is how I've been able to get my 10 new clients. So you need to identify, A, what is the overall goal that you are trying to achieve? How many clients do you want per month? Then B, what metrics do I need to put in place in order to get to those goals? And then C, creating the content or putting yourself out there into the world, whether that's in the form of stories, Instagram lives, reels, carousels, however that looks like. But actually putting that out and implementing that in that way. So this way you can actually get sales, because Instagram is a wonderful platform for sales.
Yeah. And it's really interesting that you're saying that, because personally, I've met a lot of people that just say, well, I am on Instagram, but I've never had any clients coming to me.
Yeah.
But I think what you're saying is so true. A lot of people, how can I say this in a nice way? If you share your services on Instagram, people go, oh, yeah, okay. But it doesn't persuade them that they need you. But if you
Yes.
show results of what your other clients have experienced from working with you, that instantly gets people to go, oh, she got that. I want those results too, which
Yeah.
means they're going to get curious. They're going to take that next step in order to contact you. So I think what you're saying is so important, and in particular for us who's thinking, oh, well, it's just a platform to be visible on, but I'm not getting clients from it. Comes back down to your strategy, comes back down to understanding what your goal
Yeah.
is, those KPIs, and then working backwards to kind of formulate that strategy.
Right. I
So
think if you are on Instagram as a business owner and you're not making sales from Instagram, you are doing something wrong. you need to be on Instagram, on all social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest, whichever platform is best for your business, right? Because it doesn't make sense to be on all of them. But whichever one is best for your business, get on one of them and really optimize your Instagram or any other social media accounts to a place where you are leveraging sales. Um, I I've talked to so many people who say the same thing, like, I'm not getting sales. And when I go to look at their Instagram, it's all about them. Instagram isn't about you as the business owner. It is about your clients. It is about your potential clients and what it is that they are going to receive from working with you.
Yes. And that comes back down to the results. Show
Yeah.
the results of what they want or what people have already gotten from working with you.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important because a lot of that is coming back to people saying, well, I don't want my face to be on every single photo and I can't get my face out there. And instantaneously, we kind of think that it's about us. Instagram is
Hmm.
about us showing up. Yes, you have to show up, but not for yourself, for the
Yeah,
potential clients, for the results that they want. So
exactly.
makes a lot
Showing
more sense.
It does. And I think like you have to show value. Like you have to give value to your audience. And I think too, if you're a brand new business that's starting out on social media, another thing to think of is you may not have reviews yet. You may not have testimonials or examples of how your business has helped other people. But what you do have is yourself. And if you showcase how you benefit from what it is, so for example, let's say you are a business coach for mothers, right? If you can show that your ideal client's pain point is maybe they have this business, but they also really want to be more involved in their kid's life and they're struggling with time management, then show how you have great time management. If you're another social media manager and you're struggling to get clients on social media, well, and maybe this is your first month, right, as a social media manager, so you have no social proof, then you need to showcase how you have done it for yourself
Yes.
because people are going to buy into your results for yourself too to say, okay, well, she did it here for herself. Maybe let's see if she can do it for me too. Or he can do it for himself. Maybe he can do it for me too. So those are all really great ways of repositioning your content in a way that gives the most amount of value to your audience. And the last point that I will say on the value aspect is do not hold back from free information. I think as business owners, so many times we feel like, well, if I give them all the information, then why do they need me? The truth is that a lot of people will not give credit to your information or even care about implementing your information if it is free. And so, therefore, the more free information you are giving out into the world, right? Like if you go to my Instagram account, you will learn everything that you need to know about social media management. But nobody implements it until they hire me to help them figure it out. And so, and it's going to be the same thing with any other business out there.
Yeah.
Give away that free information, give away all the information you have, every single detail, because when you do that, you are giving yourself credit and then your audience trusts you as the expert. And so then they also want to hire you for that too.
Yeah, and it's so important. And I always talk about the value that you're giving within your services or your
Yeah.
packages, and it just comes beautifully together in what you said. Now, I've got another question for you, and
Yeah.
this relates to stories. Oh, we all love stories on Instagram.
Yes.
But I think also, you mentioned that there's a way to sell by utilizing and using your stories. But in
Yeah.
addition to match with the goals that you've set up, which we spoke about earlier. So tell us
Mhm.
a little bit about that, because obviously for us, we're just thinking stories. Oh, it's just something that you put out there. A lot of more people will possibly see it. But I've also heard another aspect of it where people saying they're getting a lot more engagement in their stories.
Mhm.
So what is your take
Yeah.
on that?
I love Instagram stories. I make all of my money from Instagram stories. It is so good. I mean, my content helps convert people. And then, of course, from my content, they want to watch my stories. But the biggest thing in the way that I make money is how I sell on Instagram and how I teach my clients to sell on Instagram as well. So when it comes to selling on Instagram, I always tell people you want to sell 2 times a day. Your first time selling for the day is going to be what we call a soft sell. So what this might look like is, I'll go back to the example, right? Like I'm being super specific. If you're a business coach for mothers and you know that your client's pain point is that they want to be able to spend more time with their kids and less time working, right? Then maybe in your Instagram stories for your soft sell, which is your first set sale of the day, your soft sell, it shows the transformation that you have in your own life or that your clients have, right? So then if I'm that business coach, then I will showcase me playing with my son. And then I will write something along the lines of, I'm so happy that my business gives me the freedom to do this activity with my child, right? Or let's say you are a plumber, I don't know, right? And someone's, you sell your services to unclog drains and you're on Instagram stories and you're going to someone's house. Well, now you can film yourself going to that person's house and not necessarily the person, right? You're not showcasing your client in that aspect, but you're showcasing the work that you're directly doing to say, like, I'm so happy, things like that. I'm so happy to be able to help this client with unclogging her toilet so now she can use it. Right, the way you're positioning your words is in reference to the value that comes from your services, regardless of what your service is. So that is the first sell of the day. I usually wait about 2 to 3 hours before I do what we call a hard sell. So in my hard sell, I am very focused on talking about my service, my offer, whatever that may look like, right? So for me as a social media manager, my soft sell would be I'm showcasing like what I'm working on for the day. I usually go on my stories and I say, today I am doing this, 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 and this for my clients. And then I usually add like a little poll that says, what are you doing today? And then you can tap, the different options, or you can slide like happy Monday, slide if you're having a great day, and then they can slide, right? You want to add as many as engaging aspects to your soft sell as possible. Then with my hard sell, it is going to look like I have one more spot open for Instagram management this month in February. Here's everything this covers, here's who it benefits, and here are some reviews, right? And then on those stories, I'm going to have a link to where people can join my one-on-one social media management. And so then there would be the same thing. For example, if you are a plumber, I don't know, all right, then you can do the same aspect, right? Where you could say, okay, I have an opening for today, or I have an opening for next week to come do X, Y, and Z for you. This is all of the list of services that I offer. This is the price point. This is how it can benefit you. Here's where you can click to sign up. So you really want to be intentional about that. And then another thing that could help if you are really struggling with showcasing yourself is turn your content for the day into your hard sell. So what I mean by that is, if you share a reel, right? Take that reel, post it to your stories. This gives opportunity for people to see your reel for a second time of the day. Post it to your stories, and then on your next slide, talk about why whatever it is that you talked about in your reel or in your carousel can benefit your clients, and then how they can work with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's really interesting, because I've never thought about it this way. I just, my reels, I just share it on my stories just to get it there as well. But I've never thought about that soft sell, hard sell side. And let's face it, a hard sell, we're not talking about horror selling here, people. We are talking about giving them just a direct call to action about taking that next step with you. So we're not talking about horror selling or ickiness and stuff like that.
Right.
But I do agree with you. My question is, as you were talking through, my mind obviously went all techie and fuzzy.
Yeah.
If people saw that first story, then what makes them go like, oh, but I already checked his story? What makes them feel like 3-4 hours later, they're going to look at your second story, so to speak, where you do the hard sell?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, what I think with Instagram, what I really love about them is if you've already watched someone's story for the day, Instagram, whenever they get a new story, will show them right at the front of the line again. And so because of that, they know, okay, you are interested in my story or I'm interested in your story. And so you're going to pop right back up at the top of my feed, right? And so then I would click on it to watch it because it just happens to be there. And I will be honest, it's not that I'm getting a lot of sales from my soft sell. It's more of the sales are coming in from my hard sell. And it's because I'm using a direct call to action. And as you were talking about, it's not like icky sales. If you're not selling, you're not in business. We all have to sell in some way, shape, or form. That's how we make money and that's how we keep our lights on as a business, right? And so I'm not saying, don't lie to people in your Instagram stories. Don't say, well, I only have one spot available when you actually have 20 spots available, right? Like don't say doors are closing tomorrow when doors may not be closing for 3 months or whatever it is. We're not asking you to lie, but just tell people what you do, tell people how they can benefit from it, and then give them a call to action that says, here's how you can work with me, click on the link. And the first couple of times you do this, you're not going to get a lot of traction, right? And it's true. And you may feel discouraged, but business owners, remember that we have to consistently put things into practice in order to see results. The more consistent you are at something, the more you're going to generate sales and results in your business. So instead of going, okay, this doesn't work for me, I heard this on this podcast and I'm done. Reframe your mind and say, okay, this didn't work this time. Maybe it doesn't work the next time or the next time or the next time even after that. But I promise you, if you keep doing it, one day it will work. And you're going to say, wow, I'm getting sales. And all of a sudden, sales are going to keep coming in and keep coming in and keep coming in because you were consistent at how you put out your content and how you talk to your audience.
Exactly. And I love the word, the fact that you mentioned consistency, because that's one of the big words that I use all the time. I always refer to the 3 C's. First, you're going to have clarity about what it is that you're going to put out there. Then you're going to be committed. You have to be committed in order to get up, do the work. And then you're going to find consistency is just going to become so much easier as well, because you're going to have to be consistent in order to see any kind of results at the end of the day.
That's true.
I love how you're talking through this. My mind is racing. I'm getting so many great ideas.
I love that.
I've got one more question for you, because obviously there's another entity of Instagram that we all love, and that's the DMs. Now, I've spoken to people where they say, hey, I got a client through a DM, or hey, I made a sale through a DM. How do you do that? What is your take? What do you do?
Yeah, so this kind of goes back into selling in your stories, right? If you are comfortable doing that aspect of things, then you are going to get people who naturally are going to inquire about your services. So as I'll go back to and give myself as an example, as a social media manager, when I put out okay, one spot is left for the month of February. This is who this benefits. This is how you can, right? Here's the link for you to schedule a call with me. A lot of times people are not scheduling a call. A lot of times people are sending me a message saying, I'm really interested in this, but I don't know how this works. Like, talk me through it. And so we're having that conversation. We are directly, instead of me saying, let's hop on a call, as a mom, I don't always have time to hop on a call with all of my clients or potential clients. It's impossible for my business. And so instead, what I've started to do was I started to really ask questions in the DMs, right? Someone is interested, but they're not sure if they want to book. Well, talk to them like a human, like you would want to be communicated with. I usually ask, okay, what is the biggest struggle that you're having with your social media? And then they tell me, I don't have time to do it myself, right? Or I'm not seeing the growth that I want. But to be honest, I mean, a lot of it goes back into they're overwhelmed, they don't have time to do it, all of these different things. And so then you're taking those feelings, those emotions, or those really serious pain points, and you're saying, well, you know what? Let's pretend I was talking to someone named Sarah. I could say, I totally understand, Sarah, that you don't have the time to commit to your own social media. My team and I can really help you develop a plan for you and do X, Y, and Z. Now, one thing I will say when it comes to selling in the DMs is you don't want to give away every little tiny detail of what it is that you are doing for your client because it leads to confusion and overwhelm of
Yeah,
information. And so
absolutely.
and so when your audience or the person you're communicating with is overwhelmed, they don't buy. Think about it like this. Let's say you go into a store and you want to buy a television, right? If the store has 1,000 televisions, almost all of them, they do the same thing. They just show you what you want to see, right? But some have nice crystal clarity and some don't have, the clarity, or some have bluer blues, or whatever it is, right? There's 1,000 TVs, and the salesperson is walking you down the aisle to see all these different TVs, and he shows you, let's say out of the 1,000 he shows you 10. That's still too many TVs. Your brain is going to go, oh my God, I don't know which one to buy. There's 10 different options here. And you're going to walk out of that store and you're not going to buy a TV from there, compared to if you go to a store. That's why stores usually have 3 or 4 televisions on display. They don't have, hundreds of thousands. Then you go into a different store and maybe they have 2 or 3 TVs. And now you can see what their different options are. Do not overwhelm your audience. Figure out what their pain point is in the DMs, and then directly speak to that pain point and how your service can help take away that pain point. And then you give them time to speak, right? So you say, okay, Sarah, let's say Sarah's pain point is that she doesn't have the time, right? So I say, I definitely understand that you don't have the time, Sarah. My team and I, we have X amount of time to be able to dedicate to your social media. We can take this off of your plate and handle this for you. Um, how does that sound to you? Always asking that prospect, how does it sound to them? You want to know what their feelings are, what their thoughts are, where are they in the buying process with you? A lot of times, once I can directly state, okay, this is your pain point, this, and always reiterate their pain point. If I can reiterate their pain point, say it again to them, and then I can say how I'm going to fix that pain point. Um, and then I ask, how does that sound? They usually say that sounds great, because all I'm saying is I'm taking away the pain that you are feeling and I'm going to fix it by doing something for you. And so then they usually follow up with, that sounds great. What is the price? Right. So I never call my services a price back. I call it an investment, because that's what it is. You are investing in me so that you can see a return on investment back into your business. Um, and so then I would usually respond with, well, the investment amount is blank. Um, Let me know what the best email address is, and I can send you over a contract and an invoice. So at this time, I am assuming the sale. And it goes so much to where I've seen people not assume their sales, right? Like my clients that I have, where they're having these great conversations in the DMs, but they forget the very last aspect is to assume the sale. Act as if you already have that sale, and that person will then move and they will sign that contract and they will pay your invoice, right? And so for me, if I'm talking to Sarah, and I say, okay, what is the best email address I can send over a contract and invoice? In that method, I am not giving Sarah an opportunity to say, wow, that price is too high, or I can't afford that, or any of those things. And the truth is if Sarah really can't afford it, she will let me know, right? But if not affording it is not the issue, then Sarah is going to go ahead and provide me her email address, and she's going to pay the invoice, and she's going to sign the contract. And that is the same way that business owners need to move. All business owners should be moving in their DMs when they are talking to prospects.
Yeah. And I love your examples, because at the end of the day, it's purely a conversation, basically,
Yes.
just in word form in the DMs.
Yeah.
But I love your approach to it as well. And it's so funny, the terminology that you use is very similar to what I use. I talk about investments. I talk about just having a conversation, and it's very, very true. The 2 or 3 options, it's interesting that you're saying that, because that's something that I share with my clients when we talk about creating the enticing packages. It's like, don't have all of these options available and on display. People are not going to make a buying decision. If you have 2 or 3 options that you're sharing with them, you're really tapping into that kind of buying mode that they almost get into, that personality, as I refer to. So I love the fact that you're bringing that up as well. And that's why I was shaking my head vigorously. It's like, I get it, because that's exactly what I'm sharing and saying. Oh my
Yes.
gosh, I just love this conversation. But I think, for us as business owners is thinking and utilizing Instagram as just a way of being visible, but
Right.
really take a step closer to kind of utilize it in a way where we can have great conversations, where we can bring them one step closer, and where we can get to sell. And I think that's one of the things we're shying away from, really, because we're feeling scared to sell. We're feeling scared to be there and doing
Yeah.
the nitty-gritty work of it, so to speak.
Definitely. And one more thing to add to that is if somebody doesn't immediately hop into your DMs, if you notice that someone is your ideal client based on their account and they just followed you, always, always say hello, right? Like, even if you don't follow them back, get in their DMs first and say, hi, thank you for following me. And I've seen way too many people set up like the automation to do that for them. It's not personal. People do not buy from robots. People do not buy from companies. People buy from people. Get in the DMs, say hello to all of if you've never said hello, you've never had a conversation with any of your followers, get in their DMs, say hello today. That is the first thing you need to do. Say hi and have a real conversation. Get to know them. And as you get to know them, maybe over some time, right? Like maybe a couple of days, you're having this conversation with them. Then you can figure out, okay, does this person need, why do they follow me? Do they need my services? Are they just interested in my content? Are they trying to sell to me? Figure that out, right? And really just talk to them. It shouldn't be that scary. I know we get so overwhelmed, but remember, this is a complete stranger. Even if you butcher the conversation at first, like it's going to be good because you will learn from it, they will learn from it, and it doesn't matter how bad the conversation gets. As long as you take that and you grow from it and you go, okay, I'm never going to say that again. Let's revisit this and fix it for the next time you have a conversation with someone. Practice makes perfect. And the more you get to know the people that are in your world, right? That's what I call it, in your world, that are following you, the more likely you are going to start seeing sales because then they see the benefit of themselves in you, or vice versa. Maybe you start buying other people's services.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that, yes, don't do an automated message
Yeah.
to message them. Always call them by their name as well. It's like, hi, Sharon. Hi, Sonia. Thank you for
Yeah,
following me. People see that immediately and go, oh, well, this is not automated. This is specifically
exactly.
for me. Using their names is really important. But that is a topic we can talk about on another day, making it more personal. But I think, this comes back down to just showing up, being authentic, and just making sure
Yes,
that people hear who you are, your tone of
right.
voice, but at the same time, just be consistent by showing up. That's it. And
Definitely.
have a strategy. And for those of you listening to this and just getting so excited with all of these tips that Cienna shared with you, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I need a strategy. Well, here's the thing. I would suggest that you go get in contact with Cienna if you want to talk a little bit more about your Instagram strategy and you feel like you can really utilize your Instagram platform in order to make some more sales, then go and have a chat with Cienna. So my suggestion is go and follow Cienna on Instagram, send her a DM, say that you've listened to this podcast episode and that you would love to have a chat with her and see how she can help you. And then from there, I will also put her Twitter. And from there, I'll also put her TikTok details and Facebook details below in the show notes. So you can also go and connect with her there. But overall, Cienna, thank you so much for coming onto the
Yes.
podcast and sharing all your wisdom and knowledge with us. It's been absolutely amazing. I made so many notes and I'm going to sit tonight with my Instagram and go, right, how can I do this? So I
That's
really
awesome.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It was such an honor.